Luigi's Mansion was a launch title for the Nintendo GameCube, making its debut in 2001. Praised for its imaginative gameplay and interesting mechanics, the game went on to sell over 3 million copies, becoming one of the first player's choice games for the console. The game takes place in a haunted mansion filled with ghosts that have taken Luigi's brother Mario captive. Aided by mad scientist Professor E. Gadd and his newest invention, the Poltergust 3000, Luigi has to fight off hordes of ghosts with this souped-up vacuum cleaner while he searches for his long-lost brother. In order to fight off the ghosts that haunt this house, Luigi has to first stun the ghosts with his flashlight, revealing the ghost's heart. Now, Luigi can whip out his vacuum and start gobbling up the ghosts by holding the control stick away from the enemy. After capturing the important ghosts in each area, Luigi is able to progress further into the mansion. After taking down several portrait ghosts and 40 boos, Luigi can face off against King Boo, the mastermind behind the kidnapping. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to it. Back in the early 2000s, speedrunning was still in its infancy. While some gaming communities had their own sites to maintain their records, the only site to host runs of all kinds was Speed Demos Archive. Showcasing high-quality and entertaining runs from all different games, it became the main hub for speedrunners and enthusiasts alike. On the site, most users spent their time running and perfecting 1 or 2 games at a time, but there was one user in particular who didn't fit the mold. That user was David Marshmallow Gibbon, aka Marsh. Marsh made a name for himself in the speedrunning world by publishing world record times in a multitude of games. At one point, Marsh had world record times in over 20 different games, such as Banjo-Kazooie, Bomberman 64, Chameleon Twist, Chrono Trigger, Diablo 2, Donkey Kong Country 3, Jet Force Gemini, Half-Life 2, and GoldenEye. Marsh had a real penchant for picking up games that nobody had run, and developing a solid route and strategy to finish these games in no time. Most of his records even stood for years on end. But in 2005, Marsh made a post in the forums, simply titled, Luigi's Friggin' Mansion. After stating that he's cursed to speedrun every game he owns, Marsh tells the community that he does own this game, and that he hasn't done a speedrun of it yet. Marshmallow was reluctant to do runs of it because he honestly doesn't really like the game, stating, it's okay, nothing amazing. But as he is cursed, Marsh begins to practice for this inevitable speedrun. The forum community comes together to share some tidbits to help Marsh on his run. Instead of holding the control stick away from the ghost the entire time, like you might expect, it's actually faster to reset the control stick back to the neutral position, then pull it again every 10 health or so. The first 10 damage is dealt faster than the later damage, and resetting the stick to neutral lets players get the faster damage again. Lastly, they also mentioned that using the Game Boy Horror on any mirror in the game will warp Luigi back to the main foyer, which saves time on backtracking. After a few days of playing, Marsh submits a segmented run of 133.53 on August 27, 2005. Initially, the community is impressed by Marsh's submission, as it's entertaining and a lot faster than people were expecting it to be. But pretty soon, some users were quick to point out quite a few flaws in the run. In Area 3, Luigi needs to collect 5 of Mario's lost items in order for the fortune teller ghost to be able to locate the lost plumber. While grabbing Mario's star item from the observatory, Luigi needs to grab a passing comet and shoot the moon. In his run, Marsh loses at least 30 seconds trying to hit the moon, since it's at a deceptively hard angle. On top of that, Marsh isn't the best at defeating ghosts quickly. It's possible to stun multiple ghosts that are next to each other, and then suck them all up at once. By not going for more multi-kills, Marsh loses minutes across the run to these one-on-one fights.
Fuck off, or...
Last but not least, Marsh was playing the game on the normal difficulty. Unbeknownst to him, the game's harder difficulty, known as Hidden Mansion Mode, is actually quite a bit faster. In Hidden Mansion Mode, Luigi takes more damage from enemies, and less health is dropped from ghosts. However, Luigi's Poltergust deals 50% more damage on all enemies, except boos, meaning ghost captures are notably faster. This effect even applies to bosses, allowing top players to defeat most bosses in one cycle. Marsh, however, was not interested in revisiting the run. It wasn't really his style to anyways. Marsh usually practiced the run for weeks or months before putting together a submission, and then he moved on to something else. It should be of no surprise that Marsh only spent a few days working on this run, especially after his forum post about not liking the game. Marsh moved on to other games, but the community wasn't quite done with the game just yet. SDA site owner and speedrunning legend in his own right, Radix, took it upon himself to do a 100% speedrun of the game in Hidden Mansion mode to do the game justice. The 100% category aims to get the highest possible rank in the game, meaning that Luigi has to capture all portrait ghosts, even the optional ones, catch all boos, and obtain 100 million G, the game's money. Radix spent the next 2 months routing and practicing. On December 3rd, 2005, Radix published his 100% single segment run, completed in 1:36:13, less than 3 minutes slower than Marsh's run. At last, a run that was up to the site's standards. Satisfied, the community was happy to work on other games, and so, Luigi's Mansion speedrunning would go quiet for quite some time. 5 years later, over in Japan, a new runner was pushing the any percent time. His name? Survive. Running in the slightly faster Japanese version of the game on the much faster Hidden Mansion mode, Survive started putting in the much needed time and practice into the run. While not a lot of footage remains from Survive, we do know that he slowly lowered his time from a 1:33:05 down to a 1:18:25, taking 15 minutes off of Marsh's SDA time. On March 5th, 2010, Survive submitted a 1:13:41 to SDA, removing the old school legend's subpar time. Finally, 2 solid speedruns could stand on the podium, representing the 2 main categories for the game. While he didn't submit again to SDA, Survive did improve his time later that year to a 1:11:32. With his magnum opus complete, Survive put the game down. Having decisively toppled the reigning champion, Survive could walk away satisfied with the effort that he put into the game. Once again, Luigi's Mansion was laid to rest. Around the time that Survive was retiring, the speedrunning scene was evolving in many ways. The first of these was live streaming. Survive was already streaming his attempt.
I actually fucking did it.
A Japanese website dedicated to video sharing and streaming, but streaming was becoming more popular worldwide. Over the next few years, we see the explosion in popularity on websites like Twitch, allowing speedrunners to show off their run attempts in real time. The second change was the racing website Speedruns Live.
What the fuck?
SRL was a website dedicated
Second in Czech Republic, first recorded. Czech fucking Maxout, first fucking recorded. I think. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god, I'm shaking so fucking much. Oh my god, I'm actually fucking violently shaking.
Tons of runners out of the woodwork. Speedrunning communities could now form around specific games, as there are now more players to share and collaborate with.
No fucking way.
In February of 2012, Japanese runner Zealous makes his way onto the scene,
that was the
beating
first
Survive's
fucking...
time by 1
That was
second.
genuinely the first attempt of the
Zealous
day.
never saved any of
Genuinely.
his footage, so it's hard to say if he was doing anything in particular to go faster.
Genuinely,
By the
first
end of the minute, Zealous had gotten
fucking
a few PBs,
thing of the day, and I
at
actually
the
did
time
it.
of
Oh my god.
1:10:20.
Fucking...
Unlike in years past, though, Zealous had competition, as the small crowd racing on SRL was quickly catching up. In April of 2012, only a few months after Zealous's new world record time, runner Bonesaw577, yes, that Bonesaw, was grinding out runs of Luigi's Mansion 2. Racing with other community members on the site, Bonesaw was
I don't know what to say. I've been trying this for...
On June 11th, Bonesaw clutched out a run
2 years, over 2 years,
beating the
and
previous record
this
by 27
was so fucking random as well. Holy shit.
Oh. Oh my god!
I don't know what to say.
Oh my god!
I don't know what to say, this is crazy.
Yes! Oh my god!
Shit.
So happy.
I
I'm
hope
like...
the recording's not fucked up.
Woo, I'm tripping. I'm like...